Why does that behavior continue to occur? Why did that kid keep doing that? Example, inappropriate vocal behaviors. Christine shouts and throws her materials on the floor, especially when asked to do a writing task. Christine shouts and throws her materials on the floor, especially when asked to complete a writing task. Christine appears to be motivated by negative reinforcement. She's trying to escape or avoid a difficult task. The behavior we see is Christine shouts and throws her material on the floor. When did this happen? When she's asked to complete a task. The consequence may be she does not have to do the work. Well, Christine, since you threw it on the floor, you don't have to do it. She is then being motivated by negative reinforcement. The function of this behavior was for Christine to escape or avoid the difficult task. Another example. Arlene engages in calling out behaviors when it is someone else's turn to talk or when a teacher is working with individual students. This scenario, Arlene is motivated by positive reinforcement, access to staff attention. Arlene engages in calling out behavior when it's someone else's turn or when a teacher is working with other students. Her goal is to take attention off of the student and bring it back to herself. And when this happens, she's motivated by the positive reinforcement of getting teacher or staff attention. So why is she participating in this type of behavior? It's for the attention of others. So the behavior is the calling out. The function or the purpose is to gain extra staff attention. Sarah, diagnosed with autism spectrum disorder, exhibits inappropriate verbalizations in a variety of settings, times of day, and with various peers and staff members. In this case, we may find out that it's automatic reinforcement, sensory consequences. So again, the goal is to see the behavior in a setting that is occurring and determine what's the possible function of that behavior. In order to do this, we look at an ABC form. The ABC form follows what we mentioned earlier. Antecedent, behavior, and consequence. Watch how we complete this form here. At the bottom, we see the sudden event, we see the antecedent box, we see the response, and we see consequence. Tammy misses her afternoon medication visit with the nurse prior to language arts. The teacher makes multiple task demands. Tammy makes a negative self-statements and writes profane language on her assignment. Teacher sends her to the office with a disciplinary referral for being disrespectful. Now, if we fill this form out, we start plugging pieces of the narrative into the boxes to get a picture of what's happening. The setting of this event. Tammy misses her afternoon medication visit prior to language arts. That's the setting. Then we get to the point where the antecedent. What sets Tammy off? The teacher makes multiple task demands on Tammy. The behavior, the response from Tammy. Tammy makes negative self-statements and writes profane language. The consequence. Teacher sends Tammy to the office for being disrespectful. We determine what the function of this behavior was. What was the function of Tammy's behavior? Based on this scenario, the function was to avoid a difficult task. The tasks were made difficult and enhanced because Tammy was unable to process the experience, possibly because she missed the medication, or for other factors that played a part. Another scenario. Brandon has dyed his hair 3 colors and is teased several times by his friends before class. When he enters the class, his teacher stares at his hair. Brandon immediately says, "What are you staring at?" His teacher immediately sends him into in-school detention. Again, we plug in the boxes as we break this scenario down. We see the setting event is that Brandon is teased several times about his hair by his friends before class. Now the antecedent. What sets Brandon off? His teacher stares at his hair in class. Now the behavior, which is Brandon's response. Brandon asks his teacher what she's staring at. The consequence of this, his teacher sends him to in-school detention. So now we say, what's the function? We have Brandon, who is teased several times by friends prior to coming to class. Then he enters the classroom and is triggered by a teacher staring at his hair. He immediately gets angry and says, "What are you staring at?" and gets upset. And in response, the teacher sends him to in-school detention. The function of Brandon's behavior was to escape adult and peer attention. He was overwhelmed with attention that he did not want. Attention on his hair that his hair bore. So as a means to escape the adult and peer attention, Brandon demonstrated the following behavior, which led to the consequence. Here's one that you may be more familiar with. Let's try this one. The football game is coming on in 2 minutes. Your significant other asks you to wash the dishes. You happily oblige. After 1 minute, you have broken 2 glasses and 1 dish. Your significant other pushes you out of the way and says, "Just let me do them." You sigh and go watch the game. As you plug in the scenario into the boxes, the setting of the event, the football game is coming on in 2 minutes. That's the setting. What sets everything in motion? Your significant others ask you to wash the dishes. Your response to behavior, you break 2 dishes and a glass. The consequence, your significant others takes over and washes the dishes themselves. What's the function of behavior? What could be the function behind the breaking of the 2 dishes and a glass? To avoid an activity. You figure if you break 2 dishes and a glass, they would do it because they figure you can't do it. So you avoided the activity and decide to engage in something that you wanted to do, such as watching a game. So this is how we can kind of break down scenarios to determine what can possibly be a function to behavior we're seeing. Once we determine this, the next goal is to how can we replace that behavior with a more positive means of accomplishing what they're looking to accomplish. We all like to be in control of our lives. It's how we meet that need that sets us apart. So for example, if the behavior that had been demonstrated was swearing or cursing, and the function of that behavior was to escape a task or a demand. For example, a school student that does not like writing and gets upset when it's time to write, and demonstrating behavior to avoid that task. We need to teach them a new behavior. Instead of swearing or throwing their books, what is something more that this person can do to replace that negative behavior? Could it be requesting a break? Could it be receiving additional assistance? Communicating, using their words? Could it be choosing the type of writing assignment they would prefer to write versus the one being assigned to them? This is just some various examples of how we will look to replace the negative behavior, such as swearing or throwing the book, with a positive behavior that still meets the function of what they were trying to accomplish. You can't get out of the writing assignment, but you can communicate to me in a better way why the writing assignment is a problem for you. And I can give you a better option to meeting the goal. So we cancel out the swearing, the throwing a book, because that's a negative, and replace that with a positive behavior, such as requesting a break. Give you a 2-minute break, and after that break, we're going to do some of the writing assignments, some of the writing work. So it builds on communicating skills, communicating your feelings, communicating what is occurring. And it also helps them to develop a better way to express a need. That's all on this brief presentation of having a functional behavior assessment. I hope this was helpful. Continue to follow as we build on other aspects of behavior, behavior analysis, and functional assessment